10 paranormal sightings caught on camera. From a possible skunk ape sighting to an Area 51 interview with an alien, join us as we take a cautious peep at 10 paranormal sightings caught on camera. And today we have very special guest Countdown King Danger Dolan to help us out with the list.
Ghost scares dog. In 2008, a man began experiencing some strange things going on in his house. Every day after coming home from work, he noticed that the door to his attic had been opened. He decided to set up a camera in his living room to see what was going on. First, his radio plays some eerie noises as it picks up interference. A few moments later, a cupboard door begins opening and closing by itself. Then a roll of kitchen paper flies off the coffee table. The man's dogs begin looking off camera, clearly unsettled by what's going on.
In 2015, a floating city appeared in Foshan in the Guangdong province of China. Thousands of eyewitnesses saw this phenomena hovering in the sky. The footage was so striking it even made the Chinese news. After the video went viral, many theories began to spring up. Some say it's part of a top secret operation called Project Bluebeam, a NASA-funded initiative. The technology can reportedly project holograms which could be used to stage alien invasions or visions of religious figures. Others have speculated that it's a door to an alternate reality that opened up for a period of time, allowing stunned onlookers to have a glimpse into another world. This isn't the first time this has happened either. This footage was taken in 2011 in Huangshan City in China's eastern Anhui province. The footage is even more vivid than the first, clearly showing a detailed city floating in the clouds. Scientists and other level-headed folk waded into the discussion, claiming that the phenomena is an optical illusion known as Fata Morgana. This complex mirage occurs when light is distorted through air layers of different temperatures. This does seem like a plausible explanation, however Fata Morgana normally occurs at a clear horizon point in polar regions, at sea or in the desert. This image is an example of Fata Morgana. In this photo, taken off the coast of Queensland, Australia, it looks as though the boat is hovering above the water. It's far in the distance with a clear horizon line. The footage taken in China was in the middle of a city at an angle too sharp for Fata Morgana to occur. What do you think? Is this an optical illusion, government testing, or a gateway to another world? Let us know in the comments section below.
The Chicago UFO. In August 2016, a pilot took this footage on his phone while flying over Chicago, Illinois. It shows three balls of light hovering in the air beside the aircraft. They maintain a triangle formation and dramatically take off at extreme speeds below the aircraft.
These two clips come from a YouTube channel called Exploring Abandoned Mines. It's a group of enthusiasts that explore old, unused mines. The channel is not normally associated with paranormal happenings, but there are two clips where some very unusual activity is captured on film. The first one shows them exploring the Horton mine in Nevada, USA. At first the guy filming says the mine feels very unusual, like a strange energy is around. Then, climbing further into the abyss, he finds a chain swinging on its own, back and forth. Then in the second clip we see the explorers descending into the Nicholas Eureka mine in California. Watching the whole clip, nothing obviously creepy happens, but on review at the 4:25 mark, while looking up the shaft ladder to the left, something very strange is lurking in the shadow. If you slow it down, it looks like the boot of someone climbing down the shaft.
Alien interview Area 51. This footage surfaced in 1997. A man known only as Victor claims to have obtained this footage from the government. He says it's an interview with an extraterrestrial being in Area 51.
Alright, we're looking at the interview suite at S4. It's kept dark for the comfort of the aliens. I'm sorry. It's very hard for me to watch this.
This strange footage began circulating in December 2014. Supposedly taken in Dev Pavan Ghats in India, this video shows a man driving down a dark mountain road. Legends tell of a witch that has been spotted for over 200 years in the very mountains he's driving through. What he finds on the road is absolutely chilling.
The Florida Skunk Ape, uploaded in January 2015, this clip was taken in Lettuce Lake Park, Tampa, Florida. The man who captured the footage initially thought he had spotted a bear and began filming, but when he later asked the park ranger about bears in the area, they said that they tend to stay away from swampy areas. If you take a closer look, it appears to have much longer arms than a bear and walks comfortably on its hind legs. Many say a hominid, cryptid creature known as a skunk ape roams the Florida area. It gets its name from the foul-smelling odor that it reportedly emanates. Numerous witnesses throughout Florida have reported seeing a big hairy ape-like creature that runs on 2 legs. Could this be the fabled creature?
In 2009, a self-proclaimed prophet known as Yahweh demonstrated to an ABC News team that he can summon strange flying objects on command. The reporter begins the piece with an understandable skepticism, but before long the prophet Yahweh goes into some kind of prayer or trance. Then, right there in front of the reporter, a strange glowing orb appears in the sky.
Oh, brother, look at it, there it is.
You can barely see it, a white speck. Then, another sighting.
There it is, I got it.
But let's take a closer look here. It's an orange sphere that appeared out of nowhere.
What? See, it's coming up toward us. Whoa, man! Oh, hallelujah!
Ghost leaving body. There is very little information on this video. It appears to be some security footage from an old school or possibly a hospital. It looks as though there is someone sleeping on the bed, but what the camera captures is terrifying.
This video was uploaded to YouTube in 2011. It's supposedly filmed in Fresno, California near Yosemite National Park. An elderly couple were having trouble with some trespassers on their property, so they decided to set up a camera. When they reviewed the footage, they had no idea what they had captured. Bonus time! Huge shout out to Danger Dolan for helping out with this one. It was an absolute blast working with him. Now head on over to his channel now to watch 8 creepy things caught on security camera. We feature in it. The links are in the description box below.
Fresh pantalones please, I seem to have soiled myself.
As always, thanks heaps for watching. Hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed Danger Dolan in this countdown. Remember to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for daily Slapped Ham antics. And this is the Slapped Ham shining off. From children doing emergency drills for a bombing raid to the staking of an alleged vampire's heart. Join us as we take a look at 10 real photos with creepy backstories. This unsettling photo was taken in Liverpool, England in 1941. After persistent bombing from German air forces during early phases of World War II, all UK citizens were issued with a gas mask. Rampant fear of a gas attack on Britain led many schools to run drills with their students. This photo shows young school children learning how to put on a gas mask and file hand in hand to a nearby meeting area. This is Anne Elizabeth Fowler Hodges. She is the first documented human to be hit by a verified extraterrestrial object. Known as the Sylacauga meteorite, this 5.5 kilo, which is around 12 pound space rock, fell into the living room of Hodges on the afternoon of November 30th, 1954. She lay on her couch having an afternoon snooze when the meteorite crashed through the roof of her house. It bounced off a large wooden radio, then smashed into her left hip, causing significant bruising. The event garnered worldwide media attention, and soon a bitter ownership battle broke out between Hodges and her landlord as to who owned the meteorite. Offers of up to $5,000 were being made to purchase the rock. After a lengthy one-year dispute, Hodges finally settled with her landlord by paying $500 for the chunk of meteorite. But by then, public interest had diminished and buyers were no longer interested. Taken in 1895, this photo shows Horatio Gordon Robley sitting with his collection of severed heads. Known as Moko Makai, these are the preserved heads of tattooed Maori tribesmen. During the 19th century musket wars in New Zealand, violent clashes broke out between arriving Europeans and the native Maori. The war saw the severed heads of natives used as a form of currency, which could be bartered for other goods and even firearms. During the American Civil War, the Andersonville prison camp was notorious for its poor treatment of inmates. The prison was built around a swamp. Prisoners were often forced to bathe and drink water contaminated with the feces of thousands of sick and dying men. Diseases like dysentery, diarrhea and scurvy were rife throughout the camp. This photo is of a Union soldier who managed to survive the horrific conditions at the Andersonville prison camp. His emaciated figure gives insight into the appalling treatment prisoners of war had to endure. This is the mummified heart of alleged vampire August Delagrange. It is said that he was responsible for the deaths of more than 40 people in the early 1900s. In 1912, Delagrange was murdered by a Catholic priest who drove a stake into his heart. This photo, taken on August 14, 1936, shows the last public execution in the United States. A crowd of up to 20,000 people watch in anticipation. Rainey Bethea was the last prisoner in America to be publicly executed after he was found guilty of the rape and murder of 70-year-old Lisha Edwards. Although the crime itself was heinous, a media circus grew around the event because the sheriff of Davis County at the time was a woman. Her name was Florence Shoemaker Thompson. Hundreds of journalists from all over the country flocked to the town of Owensboro, Kentucky to cover what was supposed to be the first execution publicly performed by a woman. However, unbeknownst to the public, Thompson had arranged for Arthur L. Hash, a former Louisville police officer, to pull the nooses trigger. On the day of the hanging, Hash turned up drunk and right at the last minute refused to pull the rope to trigger the execution. The crowd watched on in confusion as nothing happened. Finally, a young deputy police officer leaned against the trigger that sprang the trapdoor, dropping Bethea to his death. On August 6, 1945, a US B-29 bomber dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima that killed 166,000 men, women and children. The blast was so intense that it left haunting impressions of the poor souls that were killed that day. This photo here shows the shadow of an elderly person with a cane permanently etched into stone. This is the elephant's foot, one of the most dangerous objects on the planet. It's a melted pile of radioactive material mixed with sand, concrete and core sealant. It's found in the basement of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. When it first formed after the 1986 nuclear disaster, anyone standing near it would have suffered irreparable damage in seconds. Within 30 seconds, a person would feel dizzy and nauseous. By 2 minutes, cells in the human body would begin to hemorrhage. 4 minutes would render a human almost helpless, suffering from vomiting, diarrhea and fever. By 5 minutes, a human standing next to the elephant's foot at the time of formation would have been exposed to a lethal dose of radiation and would have died within 2 days. This photo was taken many years after the disaster when radiation levels had dropped. Interestingly, this photo is grainy because of the radioactive fallout. This is said to be the post-mortem photo of a young girl who committed suicide by drinking her own blood. Loana Contanescu lived in a town called Timisoara in western Romania around the turn of the 19th century. She was known to practice a very old religion known as Zoroastrianism, which has roots to pre-Muslim Iran around 600 BCE. Rumours spread that Loana was a witch. In October 1909, things got out of hand when 2 local Christian preachers and their wives rallied a mob around Loana's house. They dragged her from her home and beat her with sticks and rocks. She managed to survive and was admitted to hospital. Doctors tended to her wounds and released her 2 days later. Several days after her release from hospital, Ioana Constănescu was found dead. Witnesses claim her body laid at a makeshift altar. Bunches of herbs and incense scattered about the room. Strange esoteric symbols were written on the walls. A local coroner found lacerations on her ankles and wrists and pronounced her cause of death to be hemochromatosis. It's thought that she consumed several goblets of her own blood and died from a toxic amount of iron. It's hard to verify this story as there's very few historical documents referencing the life of Ioana Constănescu. Some critics have noted that if that is Ioana in the photo, why doesn't she have any signs of the mob beating she received just days earlier? Others have suggested that Ioana managed to restore her physical appearance through the ritual imbibing of her own blood, but willingly passed through to the afterlife. From here, the story has a strange twist. The 2 preachers and their wives who rallied the mob all died within 1 year of Ioana's death. The first couple were burnt alive after a fire engulfed their barn. The second couple were crushed to death by a falling tree while out for a walk. Could Ioana's spirit have got vengeance from beyond this mortal realm, or is this story one big hoax? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. This photo was taken on October 12, 1960 at Tokyo's Hibiya Hall. It depicts the moment of impact during the assassination of Inajira Asanuma, the head of the Japan Socialist Party. The attacker, seen on the right, is Japanese ultra-nationalist Atoya Yamaguchi. This still image captures the moment he plunged a small sword known as a yaradoishi deep into the stomach of Asanuma. Several weeks after the incident, while being held in a juvenile detention center, Yamaguchi wrote on a mirror with some toothpaste. The words read, "7 lives for my country, long live His Imperial Majesty the Emperor." He then hung himself from a light fixture with his bed sheets.
Well, that's it for another episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, remember to hit that big old red subscribe button because we have new videos every Monday and Thursday. Also, remember to follow us on all our socials at SlappedHam, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time. Pew! From mysterious murders to a shadow demon that watches you while you sleep. Join us as we take a cautious peep at 11 haunted asylums that are sure to give you chills.
This forbidding building was a private home before becoming a hospital during World War II. It is known to have a haunted bedroom where the spectre of a murdered servant girl begins to cry at exactly 4:30 AM. Several caretakers who have stayed in the room say they've seen the girl standing at the foot of the bed. She rants almost incoherently about a man who did something to her. Some say she was raped and murdered by the former owner's son. Now her spirit is trapped eternally looking for an escape. Located in Hong Kong, this former asylum was used by Japanese soldiers to execute enemies in World War II. There are reports of decapitated victims roaming the halls, the sound of crying, and even visions of a man catching on fire. Because of this, the Sai Ying Pun Hospital has been nicknamed the High Street Ghost House. Located in western West Virginia, this asylum housed a range of occupants, from murderers and rapists to petty offenders of substance abuse and even sufferers of depression. This odd mix of patients led to a harrowing environment of violence and abuse, leaving behind tortured souls that cry out in the night. The traumatic pain of ice-pick lobotomies, rape and torture has imprinted upon this property, giving all those who visit a cold and forbidding feeling. Visitors have reported objects moving on their own, lights flickering, shadows in the distance disappearing. In Ward R is the room of a young girl named Lily that died in the asylum. They say on some cold nights you can see her waiting patiently for someone to play with her before disappearing. Are the former patients doomed to wander the echoed halls of this troubled asylum, or is it just a case of visitors projecting their fears? Considered one of the most haunted places in South Korea, the Gonjiam Psychiatric Hospital is about as creepy as it gets. After its doors inexplicably closed to the public in the mid-90s, rumours spread that patients and even staff had been mysteriously dying. Many speculated that one of the doctors at the hospital had been performing experimental procedures on unwilling patients. A formal statement was never released as to why the hospital went into foreclosure. Now the property sits overgrown and abandoned, each room paint-flecked and stained, broken glass everywhere. One urban explorer noted in their blog that sticky notes were left at an unmanned desk, one stating that the hospital should have been evacuated immediately. Locals warn all tourists to stay away from the property. They say eerie groans can be heard at night, lone figures spotted in windows. There's even one report of a visitor running out of the building covered in scratches and blood, saying that something clawed at him. Whatever's happening in Gonjiam Psychiatric Hospital, I'd suggest you think twice before visiting. This forbidding hospital in St. Augustine, Florida was built on an Indian burial ground. Now, anyone who's familiar with horror movies knows it's a good idea to stay well away from ancient Indian burial grounds. It is believed that the ghosts of dead patients haunt the hospital halls, and objects have been known to move by themselves inside the building. Some visitors have said that the hospital beds inexplicably shift and slide about the room. The Royal Hope Hospital is considered to be one of the most haunted locations in Florida. This isolated and abandoned sanatorium in British Columbia, Canada is said to be haunted by a murdered nurse. Sightings of orbs have been reported by visitors, and there's even been claims of spectral voices as well as a depressing change in visitors' moods. The tunnel network below the building is where a lot of the sightings take place. One urban explorer reported being chased down a dark tunnel by a mist-like figure. As far as we can tell, the site has been marked for demolition for years. Apartments and parkland are proposed to be built on the property, but if I were you, I'd think twice before buying a house in this neighbourhood. This sprawling complex once contained some of the most dangerous and misunderstood patients on Earth. Located in rural Victoria, Australia, the asylum was built in 1864 to accommodate an apparent increase of mentally ill citizens in the Victorian colonies. Due to its isolated location, people at the time turned a blind eye to the barbaric practices taking place at the asylum. Often patients were left in tiny wooden boxes, restrained and abandoned until they were deemed calm. Over 10,000 people died in the asylum, and many ghostly apparitions have been spotted over the years. Some visitors have reported unusual pains as they walk by the men's surgery wing. Cold winds often blow out of the old facility director's office. Disembodied moans can be heard down dark hallways. There's a sense of always being watched by figures in the periphery. It's as though a deep sadness has been permanently pressed upon this property. Taunton State Hospital was built in 1854 to relieve a burgeoning demand for psychiatric treatment in Massachusetts. At one stage, it was the home of infamous female serial killer Jane Toppin, who killed over 30 people. While working as a nurse, Toppin would administer a lethal mixture of drugs to her patients. She'd then hop into bed with them and hold them close as they died. When finally arrested, she gave this chilling statement, saying that she wanted to have killed more people, helpless people, than any other man or woman who ever lived. Toppin is just one reason why Taunton State Hospital is so chilling. It is said that some of the hospital staff would force the patients into the basement and perform bizarre rituals on them, invoking demons and spirits into the halls of the asylum itself. There are reports of a shadow demon who can travel through walls to terrorize visitors. Many have said the demon watches patients sleeping at night from the corner of the room. Also known as the Athens Hospital for the Insane, this creepy building rests on the burial ground of 2,000 people. The hospital is said to be haunted by the ghost of Margaret Schilling, a patient who died in Ward 20. On December 1st, Schilling went missing, and for 42 days no one knew where she went. Then, deep in an abandoned wing of the hospital, her naked, decomposing body was found locked in an empty room, her clothes folded neatly in one corner. Schilling's body was so badly deteriorated that it left a stain on the floor. Despite hospital staff's every effort to clean the floor, a body-shaped mark was permanently etched into the ground. Some urban explorers say they've heard scratching at the door of Ward 20. Perhaps it's the spirit of Margaret Schilling trying to escape her awful fate. Built in 1935, the old Changi Hospital in Singapore was used as a torture chamber and a prison camp by Japanese secret police during World War II. Regarded as the most haunted location in Singapore, the hospital is famous for having a spirit that follows visitors around even after they've exited the building. An indie horror movie called Haunted Changi was filmed on location in the old Changi Hospital. It's a found footage, amateur-style movie that follows several students who investigate the abandoned building. While filming, the crew reported numerous paranormal happenings. They experienced unexplained noises, whispers from dark rooms, and even spotted on several occasions an old woman with what they describe as a dark aura who vanished into nothing. The crew even captured a shadow figure on film, which they kept in the final cut of the movie. Now, if you want to watch Haunted Changi, it can be a bit hard to find. In the description box below, we've put an Amazon link to where you can rent or buy it. Also known as Mayday Hills Lunatic Asylum, this rural Victorian hospital was famous for its lax rules regarding institutionalisation. With only 2 signatures, a person could be committed to the institution. Almost 10,000 people died in the building, the patients often restrained and treated with electroshock therapy. Beechworth is reportedly haunted by the ghost of a young Jewish woman who was mysteriously thrown to her death from a window. Because of strict religious beliefs, her body lay decomposing on the ground for 2 days, while a rabbi came from Melbourne to officially move the body. Several visitors claim they've seen a young girl under the window where the incident happened. This photo shows the window where the young girl fell to her death. You can clearly see a white orb floating in the air above the balcony. Another traumatic tale is that of a missing patient who couldn't be found for weeks. Finally, his body was discovered because a local dog named Max was found chewing a human leg near the gatehouse at the edge of the property. A search party investigated the area only to discover the patient's body badly decomposed up a tree. The body was in such a bad state that one of the legs had actually fallen to the ground. Since then, people have reported seeing a man wandering around the gatehouse at night. This photo was taken in the Grevillea wing of the asylum. Ghost hunters Raylene Cable and Alan Tiller took this photo while investigating the grounds at Beechworth. They believe it's the spirit of a young girl kneeling on the floor. Countless other paranormal sightings have taken place at Beechworth Lunatic Asylum. Visions of doctors walking down dark hallways, screams, nurses kneeling by bedsides. One ghost hunter says a demonic voice told him to get out and leave the asylum. Is it possible that the dark history of this property is so traumatic that the souls of the employees and those committed are forced to wander the grounds forever? Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you're enjoying the creepy content, click this annotation right there, 10 creepy ghost photos you have to see. But if you're new to the channel, then click that there. That'll subscribe you to our channel and you'll get to see content just like this each and every week. Well, that's it for me. I'll see you all next time. Pew! From a cursed 1930s Disney cartoon to a Japanese commercial that allegedly killed an entire film crew. Join us as we take a terrified look at 5 cursed YouTube videos. This video is a collage of disturbing imagery coupled with an unnerving soundtrack. It's been uploaded many times over different YouTube channels. It's said to house the spirit of a young girl named Sarah Black. Supposedly born in Ireland, Black was an occultist that could communicate with other worlds. She died after a ritual went horribly wrong. Her spirit is said to have imparted into this video. It is said that anyone who presses play is doomed and will die a slow and painful death, and it all starts with a simple headache. So this urban legend began as a creepypasta called suicidemouse.avi. Many thought the cursed video didn't exist until it surfaced on YouTube in 2012. The episode shows Mickey walking down a city street looped over. It has a really unsettling soundtrack. It's an out-of-tune piano played in an awful way that gives off a sense of dread, like something bad is about to happen. Poor Mickey walks the streets with a solemn look on his face, far from his usual cheery self. Progressively, the visuals become more and more erratic. The film begins to look like it's burning in the projector. Soon a woman's screams can be heard. As the screaming gets louder, Mickey seems to revel in the chaos as a smile cracks on his face. Eventually, a Russian phrase is displayed on screen that roughly translates as, "The sights of hell bring its viewers back in." The story goes that this is a long-lost episode of Mickey Mouse from the 1930s. When it was first discovered, an editor was assigned to review the footage. They say after watching it just once, it became so maddening for the man that he ran out of the studio yelling, "Real suffering is not known." He assaulted a nearby security guard, grabbed his gun, and shot himself in the face. Since then, viewers have reported feelings of dread and anxiety. Some say they've had panic attacks soon after watching the video. Others claim they've had suicidal thoughts. This extremely disturbing video has been floating around the depths of the internet for a few years. It is said that a deranged woman created the video. Anyone who broke her heart would be tortured. She would keep her victims captive, documenting their descent into madness. Each murder added one by one to this video compilation. It is said that ruthless experiments were carried out on her victims, the poor souls left in agony for weeks before dying. This Japanese Kleenex commercial is said to be cursed. It shows a young woman sitting on straw next to a baby dressed as a Japanese ogre. The ominous song "It's a Fine Day" by Jane and Barton plays in the background.
It's a fine day, people open windows, they leave their houses just for a short while.
Allegedly, the film crew who made this commercial all died in strange circumstances. Sure, the ad is off-putting, but nothing extreme. However, things go a little strange when you watch the commercial at exactly midnight. People say it becomes distorted and crashes the YouTube player. YouTuber Shrouded Hand claims that an anonymous viewer sent him this recording. Firstly, the viewer watches the video prior to midnight and all is normal. Then they wait till exactly midnight and hit play. The commercial plays as normal for a few seconds before some kind of interference seems to set in. The audio slows down and visual glitches flicker on the screen. A set of eerie black eyes are shown before the player crashes altogether. Shrouded Hand has said that when they first received the file, all power was cut to the house as soon as they finished watching the video. Even the laptop, which would normally turn to battery power, turned off. What do you think? Is this video really cursed, or is it just a series of well set up hoaxes? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. Allegedly, this video titled WPKEPKW inexplicably disappears from YouTube's search results. Sometimes it appears, sometimes it doesn't. Word is spread around the internet that the video is cursed. Some say it's of a person right before they die. Others say it's a government mind control video gone horribly wrong. The video shows what appears to be a blurred out face. Some distorted sounds vibrate throughout, giving the viewer a sense of unease. People who watch it say they experience mood swings, anxiety and depression. Some even claim they've become suicidal after watching the video. Viewers have reported that the video stays with them. Images of the video flash up on their computers and phones while browsing the internet. One such experience was documented by a YouTube channel called IE Wire. It began when a friend told them about the supposed cursed YouTube video. After watching it, they experienced some side effects. The image kept appearing on their computer. As they became increasingly frightened, the image would flash on screen. They became so shaken with anxiety that they were forced to delete all traces of the video and never searched for it ever again.
Well, that's it for another episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, remember to hit that thumbs up button. Also, remember to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram @SlappedHam for daily snippets of ham. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time. Poo! From a man that teleports out of the way of a speeding train to a mysterious scientist that appears in front of a moving truck. Join us as we take a look at 6 teleportations caught on film.
Let's get straight into it with his bizarre appearance in Penza, Russia. This clip shows 2 men and a cameraman discussing something on a street when out of nowhere a man on a bicycle appears and rides away. Slowing it down, there's no possible way the man and his bike were hiding behind the guy in the foreground. Is this a glitch in the footage, or has this old man appeared from somewhere else entirely? This clip, taken in an unknown location, began doing the internet rounds in late 2015. It's some dashcam footage that shows a 4-wheel drive changing lanes. As it merges into the right-hand lane, a man appears out of nowhere. He tumbles onto the road and disappears out of shot. Many have noted that it's possible the man was riding on the bonnet of the 4-wheel drive before he fell. This is a plausible explanation as we can't actually see the front of the car, but why would anyone do that? Or could it be that this man has teleported from another place in time and space? This is a very old clip that first aired on TV back in the 90s. It captivated audiences, leaving them wondering whether the police filmed a real ghost car. The dashcam footage shows a police car in pursuit of a runaway driver. The suspect is driving erratically all over the road when his final turn leaves police baffled. Many have offered explanations for this footage. Some say the car flew through the chain link with enough force to slide under the loosely attached fence. Others have noted that there's a gap to the right of the fence that the car may have just driven through. Then there's the paranormal explanations, ghost car, aliens, teleportation. Whatever the case may be, it's some amazing footage that has raised eyebrows for decades. We featured this dashcam footage a few weeks ago, but we thought it was so amazing we had to take another look. It shows a semi-trailer swerve across the road, nearly hitting oncoming traffic. Inexplicably, a man in a lab coat appears alongside the truck. It's as though he's teleported out of nowhere, forcing the truck to take evasive action. The man then wanders dazed and confused to the other side of the road. What do you think? Is this just really clever editing or a glimpse at a genuine teleportation? This is some security footage taken on December 20, 2015. It shows a man riding a motorbike up a road. As he approaches the hill, his bike stops seconds before a train speeds by. You can clearly see him struggle with his bike right as the train hits. Then, not even a second later, he reappears running down the hill. Where did his bike go and how did he get back on this side of the train tracks? Is this some kind of anomaly with the footage, or has this man blinked himself to safety? This security camera has captured something quite alarming. Taken in an unknown location, it shows a hooded figure walk straight through a door into a shopfront. The lights flicker inside the store, then the man walks back through the locked doors and out of sight. If you look closely, the timestamp on the security footage flickers between 2016 and 2019. What do you think? Elaborate hoax or proof that this teleporting time traveler just wanted a quick bite to eat?
Follow us on Twitter @SlappedHam to see outtakes just like this. From a Spanish YouTuber who made it massive trolling people on YouTube. Join us as we take a look at the top 10 most subscribed channels, top 10 most subscribed YouTube channels as of 2016. The top 10 most subscribed YouTube channels as of Dillybop. From a Spanish YouTuber who made it massive trolling people on chat roulette. Pew! Get anywhere. Pew! 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 There's links everywhere if you want to check them out. That'll probably do. Toodles! Oh, Struth! Well, that's it for another episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, remember to hit that big old red subscribe button because we have videos coming out just like this every Monday and Thursday. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time. Pew! Running SlappedHam over the last couple of years means we've seen some very unsettling content. The following is a compilation of the creepiest ghost photos we've ever seen. So turn off the lights, crank up that sound, and enjoy. In August 2013, Twitter user @CoreyCarlson posted this photo collage from his Instagram. It shows him posing in his living room with a spectral figure floating in the background. He compared the photo of an image he claims is of a woman named Curtis Johnston that used to live in the house but went missing in 2001. The two photos do have a striking resemblance of one another. If the story is true, it's easy to see how Corey came to this conclusion. It is hard to verify this story, however, as there's very little information on both Corey Carlson and Curtis Johnston. The only info on Johnston I've managed to find is on a very old website called Wellstring Ministries. It lists her as deceased. This ghastly image was captured by Holly Hampshire on a trip to Hampton Court Palace, Surrey, UK. 12-year-old Hampshire took a series of photos of her cousin, Brooke McGee, as they walked about the palace. She didn't think anything of the snaps until they reviewed them the following day. What she captured is truly chilling. Some believe the tall, long-haired figure in this photo is Dame Sybil Penn, a servant at Hampton Court who died of smallpox in 1562. Unsettling sightings of the dame began in 1829 after her tomb was moved due to renovations. Shortly after, mysterious noises filled the halls of the palace. Late at night, the sound of a spinning wheel could be heard with no explanation. This led to a palace-wide search. Eventually, a secret room was discovered that housed an old spinning wheel.
This photo was posted to Imgur by username The Stringer. It was taken back in 1970 at a birthday party. No one that attended could recall anything unusual happening or any uninvited guests. However, when they reviewed the photos taken that day, they noticed the face of a girl at the bottom of one of the images. It was a complete mystery. No one could identify the young girl at the bottom of the photograph. Then, some months later, the Stringer's grandmother saw the photo and was nearly brought to tears. She was certain that the young girl was Marie, her daughter that had died decades earlier. On the 14th of July 2016, truck driver Sal Vasquez took this photo as he was passing an accident on the Bert T. Combs Mountain Parkway in eastern Kentucky. Just near the onlooking state troopers and paramedics, there appears to be a white figure rising above the crowd. The unidentified man involved in the motorbike accident was taken to a nearby hospital but was pronounced dead on arrival. Vasquez posted the photo to his Facebook page later that day, leading many to speculate that the floating white shadow is the man's soul escaping his body. This unsettling photo was taken in 1943 in Kapusfjord, Hungary. While out for a walk, this husband decided to take some photos of his wife in the park. When he reviewed the images, he was stunned at what he saw. In the background, there is a girl in a dress with no arms and no discernible face. Creepier still, there is a disembodied leg jutting out from behind the man's wife. The more you stare at this image, the creepier it gets. The little girl clearly has no arms or face, yet is looking straight at the camera. And where is that leg coming from? It's clear there should be a body just behind the man's wife, but you can't see anyone there. Captured in October 2016 at the Newsham Park Hospital in Liverpool, England, it appears participants of this ghost walking tour got exactly what they came for when this creepy group photo was taken. The group leader, who was responsible for taking participants around the famously haunted Grade 2 listed heritage building, was stunned when they saw the photograph. It clearly shows a pale figure that doesn't match the skin tone of the rest of the group. The entity is small and frail looking with sunken eyes and a grey complexion. There appears to be another grey face staring at the camera just below the first ghostly figure. When shown the photo, no one from the walking tour could recall anyone or anything that matched the details of the figure. Could this ghost walking tour really have captured a spirit on film? In August 2015, a man by the name of Brock David submitted this picture to a ghost forum on Facebook. He said he'd been hiking through rural bushland in Toowoomba, Australia, when he felt like he was being watched. He took some photos by a small marsh known for suicides. He claimed he felt an ominous feeling and a sense of dread fall over him. After walking a few more meters, he turned back. Later that night, when reviewing his photos, he said he noticed something strange. In one of the pictures, there stood a bearded figure dressed in red standing by a pile of branches. He was certain he'd been alone in the rural forest and would have noticed a nearby person, especially while taking photos. In the days following the event, David claims he had the same sense of dread while alone in his house. He felt like something was watching him. This creepy photo was submitted to a ghost investigation forum in 2015. The user, who goes by the name Peter, said he was taking some Christmas family photos when he noticed something disturbing. In one of the photos, his daughter's arm is missing and in its place is a shadow with long, slender fingers. The shadow as a whole doesn't match what the girl is wearing. It looks as though the dark figure is wearing a long dress. Could this just be a glitch in the photo, or is something more sinister at play here? This creepy ghost photo began circulating the internet in 2014. When this lady took a selfie with her daughter, she swears they were the only two people in the room. But when she reviewed the photo, she was stunned at the eerie figure in the background. It appears to be a young girl floating, looking lifelessly at the camera. If you look closely, the right side of her face looks bloated. The photo scared the lady so much she hired a paranormal investigator to look into the history of the house. She discovered that the house had once been a fully functioning crematorium and would have housed hundreds of dead bodies. Photographer Gordon Watson took this photo while visiting Dark Hedges in Stranocum, County Antrim in Northern Ireland, a location made famous by the HBO series Game of Thrones. A ghostly figure known as the Grey Lady is said to haunt this very stretch of road. She has been reported for many years by witnesses that say she floats the length of the road before vanishing at the last beech tree. Legend has it it's the ghost of an old maid that died tragically hundreds of years ago. Many tourists flock to this road in the hope of seeing the Grey Lady. However, it's thought that this photograph is the first hard evidence of her existence. Photographer Kevin McCauley examined the photo and told the local newspaper, the Ballymoney Times, that it hadn't been doctored or digitally enhanced in any way.
Well that was a little bit creepy. As always, thanks heaps for watching. If you can't get enough of the scary content, then why not try one of those two playlists there? You're bound to get your creep fix. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time. Pew! The following photos are all hiding dark secrets. From kidnapped North Korean filmmakers to a 5-year-old mother and her baby. Join us as we take a look at 10 real photos that are hiding dark secrets.
At first glance, this photo of 3 men practicing martial arts seems completely normal. But take a closer look at the taller bearded man standing to the right. This is actually a photo of Osama bin Laden. His coach, Jimmy Woo, seen standing in the middle of the photograph, claimed that the 6'4" bin Laden attended judo lessons 2 to 3 times per week, but was too tall to be any good. Woo said he never saw bin Laden again after 1984. This photo was taken by a member of the crowd during the Trooping the Colour ceremony on the 13th of June 1981 in London, England. It shows Queen Elizabeth riding down the Mall on horseback. It seems like the photographer has captured nothing unusual until you notice the way the man standing to the left of the photo is clasping his outstretched hands. The man is Marcus Simon Sargent and he's holding a gun. Sargent fired 6 blank shots at the Queen, who was unharmed by the incident, but the horse she was riding was startled by the shots. Sargent was quickly detained by members of the Scots Guard and local police officers. Prior to the incident, Sargent had written a letter to Buckingham Palace warning of what he was about to do. The letter read, "Your Majesty, don't go on the Trooping the Colour ceremony because there is an assassin set up to kill you waiting just outside the palace." The letter didn't arrive at the palace until 3 days after the incident. It was later revealed that Sargent wanted to become famous and had been inspired by Mark David Chapman, the man who killed John Lennon. He was also fascinated with the assassination attempts on Pope John Paul II and Ronald Reagan. Sargent was sentenced to 5 years in jail but was released after only serving 3. He's since changed his name and begun a new life. This photo of ex-North Korean dictator Kim Jong-il standing between a smiling couple looks innocent enough. The truth is, however, that the couple in this picture were kidnapped by Kim and forced to make movies in North Korea. On January 22, 1978, actress Choi Yun-hee was the first of the pair to be abducted. While on a business trip to Hong Kong, she was taken to North Korea. Held against her will, she was placed in a villa and forced to learn about the life and achievements of Kim Jong-il's father, Kim Il-sung. 6 months later, famous South Korean film director Shin Sang-ok was kidnapped from Hong Kong after going in search of his former wife Choi. Shortly after being detained, Shin was imprisoned for 3 years for attempting to escape from North Korea. Neither Shin nor Choi were told of the fate of the other. Shin was eventually released, and on March 7, 1983, the two were finally reunited at a party hosted by Kim Jong-il. In 1986, after being forced to make films for the North Korean government for nearly a decade, the pair escaped their captors while on a trip to Vienna, managing to make their way to a US embassy. Unless you're a wrestling fan, you probably won't recognise the man in this photo. It is 2-time world champion Chris Benoit. The picture was taken by a fan who spotted him in a doctor's office in Carrollton, Georgia. Later that evening, Benoit, who was suffering depression at the time, went home and murdered his wife and 7-year-old son before committing suicide. Testing performed after his death revealed that Benoit's brain resembled that of an 85-year-old Alzheimer's patient. The damage, thought to be caused by years of repeated trauma, was even suggested by some to have led Benoit to murder his family and kill himself. Taken in 1939, this photo appears to show a nurse introducing a newborn baby to their sister for the first time. The truth is, however, the 5-year-old girl lying in bed is actually the mother of the newborn baby boy. Originally thought to have a tumour, Lena Marcela Medina was taken to hospital by her parents after suffering from increased abdominal swelling. Following extensive testing, the doctors confirmed that she was in fact 7 months pregnant. At the age of 5 years, 7 months and 21 days, Medina became the youngest known person in history to give birth, when her son was born by caesarean section on the 14th of May 1939. Her son, named Gerardo after her doctor, was raised until the age of 10 believing that Medina was his sister. It was discovered that Medina's body had undergone sexual maturation at an abnormally young age, a condition known as precocious puberty. Medina's father, Tiburello Medina, was arrested on suspicion of child sexual abuse, but was later released due to lack of evidence. Medina never revealed who the father was, and his identity has never been discovered. In 1972, Medina had her second child, a boy, some 33 years after giving birth to Gerardo. Gerardo died in 1979 of bone disease. He was just 40 years old. This photo was taken during World War II. By the looks on the boys' faces, conflict seems to be the last thing on their mind. The truth is that this moment spent patting a puppy with friends was probably a welcome distraction for what was about to come. The boy in the middle is 17-year-old Yukio Araki, and he was killed the following day. Araki was one of the youngest kamikaze pilots of World War II. He met his end when he flew his twin-engine Takikawa Ki-54 training aircraft into the USS Brain on May 27, 1945, killing 66 of its crew. In accordance with the custom of the kamikaze pilots, Araki clipped his fingernails and cut off a lock of his hair prior to the mission. They were sent to his parents along with a note that read, "Please find pleasure in your desire for my loyalty to the Emperor and devotion to parents. I have no regrets, I just go forward on my path." This photo was taken on the 6th of July 1944. The clown seen to the right of the image is Weary Willie, a famous character played by circus performer Emmett Kelly. He's carrying a bucket of water in one hand as he heads towards a fire. One of the worst fire disasters in the history of the United States, the Hartford Circus Fire occurred during an afternoon performance of the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. As many as 8,000 people were on hand to see the show when a fire broke out near the entrance to the Big Top 20 minutes into the performance. The flames spread quickly, engulfing the tent roof, which was treated with paraffin wax and gasoline, a common waterproofing method at the time. The fire killed 167 people, most of whom were women and children. Kelly, through his quick thinking, managed to save many of the spectators by lifting up the side of the tent and guiding them outside to safety. This is a photo taken outside the Field Marshal's Hall in Munich, Germany, sometime after 1933. The men lined up in the foreground are members of the infamous SS paramilitary unit, taking their oath of loyalty to Adolf Hitler. The SS and its subdivisions were responsible for policing the German people, enforcing Nazi ideology and running the concentration and extermination camps, where an estimated 5.5 to 6 million Jews along with millions of other victims were killed. At the time, all citizens that passed by the Field Marshal's Hall were expected to salute, but those that wanted to bypass the monument could take a nearby street that became known as Shirker's Lane. This is a still taken from an episode of The Dating Game in 1978. The smiling couple are bachelorette Cheryl Bradshaw and Rodney Alcala, the man who beat the other contestants to win a date with Bradshaw. After the show, despite the initial on-camera smiles, Bradshaw decided not to go out with Alcala, saying she found him creepy. Breaking her date with Alcala may have actually saved her life. Alcala was accepted to appear on The Dating Game despite being a convicted rapist and registered sex offender. Unbeknownst to all, the extent of his crimes were far worse. Rodney Alcala was actually in the middle of a murder spree. It wasn't until Alcala was arrested the following year and found guilty of the murder of 12-year-old Robin Samso that the horrific truth finally came out. After an extensive investigation, Alcala was officially charged with 7 counts of murder committed between 1971 and 1979. However, one homicide investigator familiar with the evidence speculated that the majority of his murders may have gone unsolved. He estimated that Alcala may have killed as many as 50 women, while others have claimed his murder count may be as high as 130. Joe Villapiano was out hiking with his girlfriend Nicole Gergen and brother-in-law Peter Biava when he took this photo of the surrounding bushland. Unbeknownst to Villapiano at the time, he had also photographed another hiker, one barely conscious and clinging to life. The previous day, 22-year-old Sailor Juliams had fallen, fracturing her leg. Her friend, Brendan Vega, who was with her at the time, tried to carry her. He also fell, breaking his elbow and breaking Juliam's ankle. Unable to move, Juliams lay there while Vega went for help. By the time the hikers came through the following day, Juliams was almost unconscious, in pain and exhausted from yelling. It wasn't until Villapiano's girlfriend, Nicole Gergen, noticed Juliams' red hair that they knew someone was down there. Gergen, a fourth-year resident in pediatrics at Hasbro Children's Hospital in Rhode Island, could see Juliams was badly injured and needed immediate medical attention. The group managed to call for help and Juliams was airlifted to Cottage Hospital in Southern California. 2 days after being rescued, Juliams received the terrible news that her friend Brendan Vega had been found dead. It was thought he fell while attempting to get help.
Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you can't get enough of the creepy photos, head on over to one of these two playlists right there. You'll definitely get your creep fix. Remember to follow us on all our social medias @SlappedHam. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time.